Hi, everyone. Welcome to our summer series of oral training communication in English. My name is Judy. Today, we're going to be talking about interacting with foreigners, whether they're foreign teachers, whether they're foreign students, international students, and exchange students. All right, so in our summer series, this time, we will focus on interacting with foreign students, international students, and exchange students. When you see international students or exchange students on campus, if you know them, you probably will go and talk to them and socialize with them for a little bit. If they do not speak a lot of Chinese or they do not speak Chinese at all, then the two of you will have to resort to using English to communicate with each other. And in your communication with each other in English, do you experience any kind of problems? Do you sometimes find your conversation not very pleasant? Or you don't feel comfortable interacting with foreign students in English because you don't know what to say or how to continue with the conversation? So in today's series of communication, we're going to be talking about some of the problems that you might face when you're interacting with foreign students in English. Okay, let's dive right into it. When facing foreigners and having to interact with them in English, do you sometimes not know what to say? Do you sometimes have trouble coming up with things to say about the topic brought up by them? Do you sometimes not know how to keep a conversation going? Do you sometimes accidentally speak in Chinese English or Chinglish? Right, these could be some of the problems that you have encountered during your interaction with foreign students in English. So let's see how you can get around with these problems to enjoy a smoother, more pleasant, more enjoyable interaction or conversations with foreign students. In our series today, we're going to divide it up into 4 parts. Part 1, how to avoid awkward silence. Part 2, suggested conversation topics. Part 3, how to keep a conversation going. And part 4, speak English, not Chinglish. Part 1, how to avoid awkward silence. Do you have this experience before? Encountering this situation is uncomfortable. The two of you are speaking to each other, but then you don't know how to continue with the conversation, so you pause right there. Same thing with a foreign student, whether this foreign student is an exchange student or international student. The student is not saying anything either, so the both of you are looking at each other in an awkward way. This situation probably will make you feel uncomfortable, but there is a way around it. So, what is the way? Let's find out. Make conversations interesting with natural ease. What can you say? Oh, really? Tell me more. To prompt the student to speak more on the topic he or she is talking about. Oh, I've never heard of that. To show your curiosity about what that student is talking about and therefore prompt the student to speak more of it. That's interesting. To show the student that you want to know more about what he or she is talking about because it is interesting to you. So this will allow the student to think of more things to say, to break the silence. Cool. Again, to show your enthusiasm about what the student is talking about. So the student is willing to speak more. Right, so these are the expressions you can use to break the silence, to avoid awkward silence in your conversation. These expressions prove to the person you're talking to that you are listening, and this is flattering to him or her. Think about it. Same thing. If these students use these expressions to speak to you, you will feel that, yes, this student is listening to me. He or she wants to find out more about what I'm talking about. So I will think of more things to say, and I'm willing to express myself more, to tell a student more about the topic that I'm talking about. And this will create a pleasant conversation that both of you will probably enjoy. Now, let's take a look at this situation. Okay, who is he? He is Dave, an exchange student here in NCCU. You're walking on campus and you bump into him. And because you know him and he knows you as well, so the two of you are going to talk and socialize with each other. Dave is an exchange student. He keeps talking about how he misses his cat back home. You don't even own a pet, and you're not exactly a cat lover. So how are you going to keep the conversation going to avoid awkward silence? I'll give you 10 seconds to think about it. Okay, so I'm going to count down from 10. All right, let's remind yourself of what the situation is. You are interacting with an exchange student, and his name is Dave. He keeps talking about how he misses his cat back home. You don't own a pet, and you're not exactly a cat lover. So, how are the two of you going to have this conversation? Okay. So, you saw him, so you're going to approach him and socialize with him. So in this conversation, let's read it out together or say it in a conversational pace. You'll be you here, but later on I'll be using my name here. Okay, so when you see you, then you read out your line. Then I'll be Dave in this conversation. Okay, so please. Hi, Judy. Good, good. Pictures of my cat. Look, this is Mimi. Oh my, she's my darling. I miss holding her in my arms. You know what? Every morning, Mimi stands beside my bed waiting for me to get up. What a sweetheart. Now, after Dave finishes, you don't know what to say, so this is awkward silence here. So now it's time to apply the trick to avoid awkward silence. So, what do you say? Mimi will look at me like I'm her whole world. All right, so you successfully apply this trick to break the awkward silence. Right, again, right? You're not interested in talking about cats, but you need to keep the conversation going. And after Dave's turn to speak, it's your turn to speak, but you don't know what to say. So you say this, oh, really? Tell me more, to show your curiosity about what Dave just talked about, which is his cat, Mimi. So you want to know more. And if Dave knows that you want to know more, that is his motivation to continue with the conversation. And that is how you break the silence in this conversation. All right, let's switch roles. Now you will be the exchange student, Dave, and I'll be you here. Okay, so you can just use my name, Judy. Okay, so I'll be you here. Let's do this conversation one more time. Hey, Dave, how's it going? What are you looking at? Oh, Oh, really? Tell me more. Yay! We have successfully avoid awkward silence in our conversation, and it goes quite smoothly. And there's a very good chance that both of you will enjoy this conversation. Next time when you bump into each other, you know that, oh, I enjoy talking with Dave, and he enjoys talking with me as well. So you will not run away from each other, but approach each other and have another pleasant conversation with each other. Good job, good job. Okay, let's do another situation. Oh, it's raining. It happens very often in this district where NCCU is located at, right? And who is this student? Her name is Jen. She is an international student in our school. She is about to go into the main library, as you can see here, and she's closing her umbrella. And you saw her. You know who she is, and she also knows who you are. So the two of you are going to talk and socialize with each other. You've never traveled to Western countries before, and weather is not exactly a topic that you enjoy talking about. But it's raining today is probably a good topic to bring up for your socializing with each other. Okay, so I'll give you 10 seconds to think about what to say. And in reality, you don't really have 10 seconds. You don't even have 5 seconds. You have 1 second when you bump into each other, then you start to talk and socialize with each other. Okay, so have to think a little bit quicker. Okay, but I'll give you 10 seconds. Okay. Yay! Let's take a look at the situation again. Right, you see Jen, she is an international student who is about to go into the main library. She's closing her umbrella because it's raining out there and she has to go into the library, so she's closing her umbrella. Right, you go and socialize with her. You've never traveled to Western countries and you have little interest in talking about the weather. So it can be understood that there might be some silences in your conversation, but how are you going to break and avoid awkward silence? Okay, let's take a look at this conversation together. So in this conversation, you be you again. Okay, so when it comes to me, you use my name. So please, you start the conversation. Hello, Judy. I'm doing okay. Yeah, isn't that annoying? All right, that's why. Still, I just don't like rain. Back in California, we get to enjoy sunshine every day. Okay, now after Jen finishes, then what are you going to say? Oh my God, you have to talk about weather. So that now there's awkward silence in your conversation. So now it's time to apply the trick to avoid awkward silence. So what do you say? You should come visit California someday. Right, so you successfully break the silence in your conversation and continue. So both of you will have something to say and then end your conversation and go on to do whatever you're doing. All right, let's do this conversation one more time. We're going to switch roles. So this time I'll be the you here, and then you be Jen. Okay, let's try one more time. Hello, Jen. How have you been? It's been raining for like 3 days already, huh? Well, Taiwan is a small island and it's a tropical country. So it is subject to a lot of rain. Cool. Right. It's really cool, eh? Because it's raining. It's probably the best time to talk about the weather, especially when it is raining. And you probably will have a lot of chances to talk about the weather, the rain, since we're all here in NCCU. Right, so these are some of the strategies that you can use to avoid awkward silence in your conversation if you do not exactly know what to say, is to show your curiosity to the things that that person is talking about, to prompt that person to speak more, to tell you more about it. So you, again, make conversations interesting with natural ease. So what do you say? You say, oh, really? Tell me more. Or you can say, oh, I've never heard of that. That's interesting. Cool. Right? These are very powerful, simple yet powerful expressions you can use in any conversation to avoid awkward silence, is to show that you want to know more about what that student is talking about. You want to find out more. You're curious about it. And the person who receives these expressions will say, oh, this person is interested in what I'm talking about, so I will tell him or her more. Next time when you interact with an international student or an exchange student, to avoid awkward silence, you know what to say, right? Okay, again, you can say, oh, really? Tell me more. Oh, I've never heard of that. That's interesting. Cool. Right? Try to say these expressions so that you're very familiar with them. In a real conversation, then you will be able to use them at ease. Okay. Now, what are you going to do? Okay, please go and practice with your colleagues. Take turns to play the role of an international student or an exchange student who speak very little Chinese or even no Chinese. So the two of you will have to speak and socialize with each other in English. Use one of these expressions to avoid awkward silence. Oh, really? Tell me more. Oh, I've never heard of that. That's interesting. Cool. So, are you practicing with your colleagues now? I hope so. Well, you can pause the video when you're done, then you can come back. Nice. So that is the end of part 1, how to avoid awkward silence. So continue to practice with your colleagues, and then after you've done practicing with your colleagues, when you see an international student or an exchange student, then you know during the conversation, if there is any kind of silence, you want to break the silence, or you need to break the silence to avoid the awkward, embarrassing, or unpleasant moment, you know what to say, right? Thank you.